I've been astral traveling to other planets for years and have had the privilege to meet many galactic beings and experience their civilizations around our universe. The sheer volume and variation of extraterrestrial life in existence continues to blow my mind. At present, I've only met over 100 new galactic races, a tiny fraction of what's out there. Even further complicating matters are the various interactions these cosmic civilizations have with each other. Some get along great and work together harmoniously, and others go into all-out wars with one another over a myriad of issues. The work I do supports that there is a God, source, grand creator that has expertly designed Earth, as well as countless legions of other worlds, then create a grand plan of how these different worlds will interact with each other amongst their similarities and differences. This is a task that is outside the scope of any one being, but something much larger and much more intelligent. Today we're covering a highly unique galactic species that is unlike anything I've ever encountered thus far. They're not a race that has starseed representatives incarnating on Earth, and they have been absent from the totality of our earthly consciousness, until now at least. So it is my pleasure to introduce the Swierris. Hello, how have you all been? It's been a while since I last posted, and thank you for watching both to my new and returning viewers. For those who are just tuning in, my name is Erin. I'm an Akashic record researcher and galactic channel. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video if you haven't already. I have also included PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle donation links below, should you feel called to support my work in that way. The galactic group we're going to feature is unknown to us on Earth. And at the time of recording this video, they introduced themselves to me about a year ago. So in breaking with tradition in this video series, this is a group that I have not been able to test my channeled information through my Akashic record reading clients because these starseed souls do not incarnate on Earth. Now, it is possible that there may be an outlier starseed soul with these origins on Earth, but they are not a group that generally comes here. And I have yet to read for one of these souls myself. Therefore, I don't have much experience with this galactic group. I encountered them through doing a deeper galactic lifetime reading for a client, and this race requested that I had a drawing done of them and make a video about them. So me, being in service to the universe, here we are. So to be transparent, this video contains channeled information only from these beings. While they are an unknown galactic species on Earth, their planetary significance is well known to astrologers and is the second race from the Leo Constellation that I've covered. This planet has the Bayer designation of Beta Leonis and is also known by its Arabic name of Dinbola, which translates to the tail of the lion, as that is exactly where it's placed in the constellation. The beings who live there, however, call it Swierri, and we can refer to these beings as Swierris. The first Leo constellation group I covered was Regulus, which is also aptly named the heart of the lion due to its location. So Regulus and this group have a troubled history and no longer interact with each other. The Swierris are a peaceful and benevolent amphibious race that reminds me of a cross between, a prized exotic saltwater aquarium fish and a sea lion. They are currently in the 9th dimension, and they've always been, so no ascension for this race. They are considered static in their evolution, but this is considered neither a good or a bad thing. Planet Swierri was just planned that way. This does not mean that the Swierris don't learn or experience ups and downs while living life there, and we'll touch on that in more detail later in the presentation. These beings are covered in small, shimmering scales. Their scales glitter in the sunlight and are gradients of bright blue, teal, and green. They are very distinctive looking, as I haven't yet covered another group that looks like them. Swierris are about 5 feet or 152 centimeters in total length, and despite having stocky-looking bodies like our earthly sea lions, they can both swim and move on land very quickly. and they can perform acrobatic maneuvers effortlessly when in the water. So also reminiscent of sea lion behavior, when on land, the Swierris like to lay in the sun in groups to kind of soak up some rays, as well as some consciousness. So it's both a social and spiritual practice for them. So fun fact, our earthly sun also provides us with consciousness. So check out my Alpha Doradian video for more information on that. So on average, the Swierris need to spend about 70% of their time in the water and 30% of their time on dry land. Too much time out of the water dries up their scales and it becomes uncomfortable for them. The most obvious or extreme aspect of the Swierri appearance is that they are a Cyclops race. All Swierris have one large eye that covers the entire front of their faces. This eye is somewhat human-looking, as it has a beautiful deep green iris, a black pupil, and whites around the eye. It is covered by a large clear bubble, like our cornea, but this transparent covering is waterproof and much more protective than our corneas, as they do not need to blink or have any external eyelids. Their internal eye just moves around within that clear round covering. So there's a vertical shutter system that's inside the clear covering of their eye, and it works as like blackout drapes. So when Swierri beings fall asleep, these internal shutters are closed. Another interesting biological feature of their giant eye, and this reminds me of the Oceana Kahs I featured in a previous video, so feel free to check that one out. There is this small bioluminescent light placed inside their eye covering that lights up when it's nighttime on their planet. And they have fewer nighttime hours than we do on Earth. So as a species, they haven't adapted well to seeing in darkness. So in general, I find their world to be very bright. And I was informed that there are stretches of time on their realm where there's no darkness at all, like Alaska or other locations close to the Arctic Circle on our planet. But unlike Alaska, it never swings the other way, where there are also long stretches of total darkness. Therefore, they have a natural flashlight inside their eye to see in the dark. On each side of their Cyclops heads are 3 gills, which enables them to breathe in and out of the water. Swierris can breathe just as easily in either environment. They have a large mouth underneath their giant eye that is filled with flexible but strong teeth. And their teeth remind me of the baleen that many of our large whale species have. Now, I'm told that Swierris do not need to physically eat very often, and when they do eat, it's usually vegetation or very small animals. So Swierris mostly communicate with each other silently via telepathy, although they can use that giant mouth to create a booming noise that echoes throughout the water or land when necessary, to gather large groups of them or even perhaps warn of danger. The Swierris don't have hard bones. They have what I would consider cartilage, just like other amphibious race I covered, the Zaniahs. They have very bendable bodies and operate as if they are a lightweight despite their stocky appearance. And they can even reduce their physical size significantly to fit into smaller spaces. And I'm told they can reduce themselves to about 50% of their size if necessary. And this includes various small portals that are located all around their planet, where they can travel quickly over a long distance. Swierri is a very large planet, much larger than Earth, and has a substantial population. The realm itself is bright, colorful, and pristine. The water takes up about 65% of the planet's surface, while the other 35% is dry land. The land is relatively flat with shade trees. And their water is slightly salty, but not exactly like our ocean water. It's bright under the water, no matter how deep one goes. And the sky in Swierri is as unique as the beings themselves. It's like sections of the sky are different colors. Think splotches of rainbow colors. So if you're on land or in water, under the red section of the planetary sky, then the sunlight filtering through will paint that part of the planet the corresponding red color. Now, I'm told by the Swierris that these colors from the sky reflecting below assist them in navigating their location on their large planet. The Swierris are a cosmic group that uses technology, but it's very tied into the natural energies emitted from their planet and their own souls. They use these two energies to build anything and everything. Since these beings do not have hands, but flippers and fins, manipulating energy is the best way to create something physical. So all planets have their own inherent individual energies that impacts the life forms that live there, as well as the other surrounding planets. So yes, even Earth emits its own unique energies and frequencies out into the universe. So much of the Swierri technology is used to create these clear, crystalline, bubble-like structures. I see these massive, clear half bubbles all around the seafloor of their realm, but less so on dry land. I was shown how they make these bubbles. All around their realm, both underwater and on land, are these small rocks that look like small white quartz crystals. So I'm going to refer to them as seeds. So once these seeds get shallowly buried under the ground, several Swierris will congregate around and focus their intention on that seed to grow it. So an energetic wave pulsates from the beings themselves, and a crystalline bubble begins to quickly form from that seed. This bubble that is forming, while very sturdy, still has some flexibility and malleability to it. So some Swierris can go ahead and energetically shape the growing bubble as it's expanding. So seeing them perform this task in my mind's eye kind of reminds me somewhat of a higher dimensional way of how we shape clay on a potter's wheel. That's the best third dimensional metaphor that I kind of came to my mind with that. Swierris can even plant multiple seeds in a row to create larger and more advanced crystalline structures. They use the power of their own prana, chi, or life force energy and work in tandem with the naturally existing life force energy of the planet itself. This creates a powerful synergistic effect, and these crystalline seeds are very prevalent all over their world, so there's no scarcity. However, even though the Swierris may make this process look easy, it does take a lot of their energy to create these structures, and these bubbles can be very difficult to dismantle once they are built, so it's always very intentional when they make one, so it's not an everyday occurrence. These bubbles not only create static structures, but they are also used in the creation of their spaceships. The crafts they can produce fly both in and out of the water, as well as off-world. Although their spaceships are more involved than the static structures and include another natural resource from their planet to be used. So first let me explain how their ships look. So they are a huge clear bubble. Think like a giant fishbowl with a large, pointed, smooth, dark metallic base. This base reminds me of like a high-tech sled underneath, and it helps to propel the spaceship forward. The fishbowl part of their crafts are typically filled with water from their planet, and there are two reasons for this. First is that the Swierris do need to spend most of their time in the water. Second, their water naturally has something in it that I can't really see, but for the sake of calling it something, let's call it an electrolyte. This electrolyte allows their own energy to be magnified. Now, I would argue that the water on our planet is also an energy magnifier, but their water seems to be even more so. So the texture and behavior or physics of their water is different than ours on Earth. Since they are powering the propulsion forward of their ship using the passenger's own life force energy, having it be filled with water is helpful. How they maneuver their UAPs in the air reminds me of a way more advanced and powerful Segway. Remember those? The Swierri ships once made have a unique way of cloaking themselves. It's like a partial cloak, where you can see the clear bubble outline and you can see the background that it's flying against. However, you cannot see the beings inside, but the passengers can see all around them just fine to navigate the ship. Since we already described how the Swierris make the bubble dwellings, let's discuss the creation of the metallic base of their ships. I'm calling it a metal because that's what it looks like to me, but it behaves unlike any metal found on Earth. This metal is mined in liquid form, deep underground of their planet, and it's a natural resource. This liquid metal is brought up from the depths of their planet in a system that is kind of like a gravity-fed well that we use on Earth for off-grid living. The metal, when brought up from the ground, is warm, but not molten lava hot like our earthly metal for forging. And shortly after the liquid metal is brought up to the surface, there's a pipe system that transports the metal material to an area where it can be shaped using the same hands-off energetic approach as the bubble shaping. The dark metallic liquid will harden and become solid, yet it remains flexible. And this becomes the base for their UFOs. Now, they may be able to use this metallic liquid for other uses on their planet as well, but that is what they shared with me. In my previous video about Regulus, I discussed the extended war between the Leo and the Sextans constellation planets. For more insight into the Regulan perspective, check out that video. Planet Swierri was a central figure in the war, but it was unintentional and not by being the oppressor. The Swierris tell me that they felt like they were between a rock and a hard place in that situation, and they explained, "We attempted to create a way for peace regarding resources that were being taken from us for other planets' use. We did not have any issue with Regulus, but they were upset with how we approached a possible resolution to the matter." So one of the natural resources that was being taken from Swierri was the liquid metal that is underground that we discussed earlier. So as a result, the Regulans accused the Swierris of being disloyal to them in the situation. Now, the Swierris assure me that they are far from disloyal. Although they are currently in a time of peace, there is no communication between Swierri and Regulus. The Swierris also inform me their specific location in the universe can emit an abrasive or disharmonious energy to outsiders. Nonetheless, the inhabitants of the planet are accustomed to and work extensively with the natural energies of their home world. I did not find the Swierris I interacted with to be abrasive at all. In fact, they live harmonious existences and were quite open, friendly, and patient with me. The Swierris explain, "It's our cross to bear and is what the Creator designed." This planetary energy is echoed in its astrological meaning when placed in someone's birth chart. Now, to be clear, I am not an astrologer, and I don't read birth charts, only Akashic records. Anyways, Swierri, or as it's called in the astrology circles, Denbola, is associated with misfortune, disgrace, and a harbinger of abrupt change. And this reminds me of the negative astrological connotations that the planet Beta Pegasi had and how it has affected the events in their own planet. That video will be linked below. Beta Pegasi in the Pegasus constellation and Swierri in the Leo constellation are two examples of these intentionally placed energetic natural stressors in the universe. Source placed these stressors to create potential issues amongst planets for lessons to be learned and growth to occur even amongst the higher dimensional civilizations. Come to think of it, this reminds me of the battles the Mylos had amongst themselves on their own world due to intentionally placed geographical energies. Therefore, this is a design tactic that can be placed both within a planet to stir up dissent amongst the population or start issues amongst completely different realms. Hopefully, you found this amphibious galactic race as fascinating as I do. I know I've been covering a lot of aquatic ET races in this series, but that is who is requesting to be known at this time. So how do you feel about God, Source, the Creator, manufacturing intentional energetic traps within our universe to create challenging situations to foster learning and overcoming obstacles? Essentially, setting the stage for potential disagreements amongst planets. Is that ethical? Would you like to experience life living on Swierri? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Any ET groups mentioned here that I've made videos about before, the links will be in the pinned comment. Should you want to have your Akashic record read by me, the link to the website is below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, kindly like and subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell and enjoy my other videos highlighting other unknown galactic races in our universe. In the meantime, I love you all and welcome to a higher dimension.